everybody. Welcome back to the Young Bulls podcast. This is your host, Jackson St. Amant, financial coach here out in California, running Money Mastermind. In this podcast here, Young Bulls. Super excited to have my guest on today, Zach Bernards. He's a licensed realtor up in the state of Oregon, beautiful green state of Oregon. He's also the founder of a tech startup called Job Show. Zach, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited for the opportunity to chat with your audience.
Yeah, definitely. So tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself. Who is Zach Bernards?
So I am a licensed realtor up here in Yamhill County. It's about 45 minutes southwest of Portland area. So I grew up in McMinnville, or just right outside McMinnville in Dayton, which is a small farming community, and lived here my whole life. Got my real estate license at 18 and have been selling ever since.
Wow.
Last year at this time, I founded Job Show, which is a tech startup, and we are currently developing a recruiting platform. So very excited about that, and our launch will be this summer, actually.
Awesome. Looking to launch this summer. No better time to launch, I would say.
I concur. Yeah.
That's awesome. So real estate at 18, what got you, what made you decide to go into real estate that young?
Well, when I was young, I did some real estate prospecting for a few family and friends, just walking around door to door knocking for duplex leads for investors.
Huh.
I had some family that invested in duplexes in our area, and at that time, the market was perfect for it. So
right.
Knock or cold call, and that just got me. I saw what it was doing for these folks that were purchasing these duplexes in terms of the cash flow opportunity, and then till now when they're selling and making $125,000 in profit.
Right.
So I saw that, and it clicked at my senior year of high school. It was just like, that's something I have to have in my back pocket, is the understanding and knowledge of our local market in particular, in order for myself to capitalize on those opportunities when I'm older. So I got in with the idea of using what I'm going to learn in the next couple of years down the road. And once I got into it, I love the transactional side of things. I like people. I like meeting people and hearing their stories. And then, of course, the numbers game with real estate and how it can really impact one's life.
Right. No, definitely. And doing the prospecting for your family, how old were you when you were doing that?
I was like 16, 17 when I started.
Okay. Wow. So yeah. pretty young. But you were kind of immersed in it from that age, and so it kind of seemed like the natural route to go for you, right?
Yeah, I always loved selling and marketing and lead gen. So, and that was kind of my first taste of it. And I was more approachable, being, actually I had better luck back then than I do now, just because now, you see my jacket, it has our real estate company's name on it. And
yeah. I
walk up to your front door and you don't want to talk to me. But when a little, chubby cheeked 16-year-old walks up to you, you're willing to chat with them. So.
Right. That's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. I remember the listeners know I did a year in the insurance industry. It was either real estate or insurance, and the coin landed on the other side for me. I went into insurance, and we did door knocking as well, but in full dress, slacks, and
right.
suit. And I swear some people up in the rural parts of Oregon, because I was doing this based out of an office in Eugene, I swear some people thought we were the FBI. I had one guy, had just gotten home. His wife was home, and she answered the door and she says, "Oh, sorry, my husband isn't home. He was the man we were looking for." And so we left, and he pulls up in his truck. He was just getting home from work. And as soon as we turned around, we're like, "Oh, we should, go start a conversation with him." He gets out of his truck and he runs into the garage, closes the garage door, and just bolts inside, locks, like lights off too, like not home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
I wonder to this day if he had a warrant, but I was just trying to talk to him about Medicare.
Right.
That's funny. So from real estate at 18, what led you into the tech side of things and to come up with the startup Job Show?
Yeah, so I guess I got my license at 18 and began selling. At the end, I was 18, got my license, and then about 8 months into that year of being 18, I started selling. So really, when I was 19 is when I was full time real estate agent, but got my license earlier than that. And
Okay.
um, my goal was to make enough money to start a tech company. I love technology. Like I said, I love sales, and I wanted to develop a product of my own that I can control,
Hmm.
sell, lead gen, market, and from being a little kid, my dream was to be a big tech CEO. You know, it's odd. I didn't want to play professional sports. I wanted to own a big company and have a group of people that I could walk in the office and collaborate with every day and really build something special. So I made enough money. I saved in real estate, and once I had this idea of job show, I had a few that I was contemplating, but this one hit me like a ton of bricks, and
Wow.
I felt like it was the one that had the highest ceiling. So I hired a developer and started doing it.
Wow, that's awesome. So you, if I understand you right, it's pretty much always been your dream to be top in the tech industry, to be a CEO and to be successful in that vertical. So real estate was really just a means to an end for you. Is that right? You just saw it as you were immersed in it at a young age. You knew it was a good way to make a decent amount of money. So you decided to get in while you were young, save, and then transition when you could.
Exactly. No, it was a good vehicle to get where I'd like to go. Not to mention it teaches you quite a bit. Like anything, um, getting out of school or not going to school at all, but starting your own business and getting into that entrepreneurship mode, you can learn so much so quickly. And the barrier of entry is so low with real estate. Truthfully, it's you get your license and begin selling. Um, so I thought it was the easiest route to go learn without going to school.
Yeah.
You know, and real estate's fun. And like I said, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the transactional side of things. So when I am older, I can invest intelligently
Yeah.
and help others do the same.
That's awesome. I love that. Tell me a little bit more about the ways you were able to save money while working in real estate, because I know in real estate income is inconsistent, not secure. So, how were you able to save money to transition to job show consistently? What were some of the tactics you used?
Well, just don't spend a lot. Obviously, that's a pretty basic statement. You know, you got to be frugal at the beginning.
Yeah.
Coming out of my short stint in school, you know, staying with my parents obviously helped me save and getting business off the ground. It takes about 3 to 6 months to really get your business going, and that's if you're lucky. But thankfully, with the company I'm at and the small community around us, I was able to get a jump start on the business, and so I just kind of stored money and was smart with it and didn't spend on unnecessary things. And actually, initially, I reinvested quite a bit of it back into the real estate business in terms of marketing and lead gen because I knew I needed a larger pool of money to start a company such as Job Show. So what I did was, you know,
Hmm.
any money I got, I reinvested it and just tried to, you know, 5x it, 10x it until I had a decent sum of it, and I was comfortable venturing out and starting Job Show.
Awesome. Good for you. It definitely sounds like you played your cards right, and that the whole process and the journey thus far has been really planned out intelligently, and I have a lot of respect for that because it seems like a lot of people. I mean, and it's a feature of entrepreneurship. You sort of just jump in head first with not a whole lot of a plan and just kind of figure things out as you go. But I think that the overall trajectory that you took is genius to get you to have this startup that you've always dreamed about about at this age, and to be able to use real estate as the vehicle to do so is beautiful. So congrats for you. You should really honestly pat yourself on the back for that one. I'm interested. So it sounds like you mentioned not going to school. How did education fit into your journey?
So out of high school, I went to a school on a basketball scholarship. So if I didn't get that scholarship, I probably wouldn't have went. But I went for 1 year just because I felt like since it was free, it's an opportunity I had to do so. I couldn't turn it down. So
Right.
I went to school, but school was never my goal. I was there to play basketball and enjoy the season, and so I was majoring in business, so it was fairly easy. And school always came somewhat um, frictionless to me. I was able to get things pretty quick. So
Mm-hmm.
and what you learn in business at a school is what you can learn being a real estate agent or insurance salesman. You can learn quite a bit. So I always
Exactly.
knew that when I decided to stop playing basketball, which was in that first year, I always knew that I was going to be done with school. So
Right.
um, went, tried it out, didn't enjoy it, stopped playing, and then that's when I began selling real estate. It was actually at the end of my freshman year of college. So
Oh,
um,
I see. I
yeah,
see. You got out 2 years earlier than I did. My story, I did 3 years undergrad,
okay,
and then that's what brought me up to Oregon. Actually, was a gap year,
oh, good deal.
and at that point is when I realized traditional path not for me. The whole entrepreneurial uh, realization, sort of defining moment, and so that's when I decided to drop out, go into business for myself, and go into insurance instead of real
Nice.
estate. I think it was because I could get my license a couple months sooner. A very short-sighted decision, but in hindsight, it worked out, and learned the business skills, and then ultimately ended up going into business for myself. So, I'm curious, at what point in your journey did you have that moment, that defining moment, that you realized, okay, this is what I'm meant to do, is be an entrepreneur? Is it the end of that first year, or did you think that it happened earlier, or was it in you earlier?
Yeah, it was earlier. I started a business going into my senior year. So at the end of my junior year, I went to an escape room for the first time with my uncle and cousins, and I actually decided to open one in Salem, Oregon,
Oh, no
that
way.
summer. Yeah, so I was 17 when I opened it, and I sold it in September, about a week before I went back to school for my senior year. And before then it was all basketball. It was, I want to, yeah, I just wanted to play basketball. Like any athlete in high school, you just want to play your sport, whatever it is. And so
Right.
then I started that, and that summer I spent a lot of time alone with the business and just down there in Salem in our office operating the escape rooms. And I realized that I got more satisfaction out of getting a sign up for the escape room from like a Facebook ad or a different ad that I was running than making a 3-pointer in a basketball game. And it was addicting. It was and I completely enjoyed the social interaction of it. Um,
Yeah.
the marketing aspect, the business ownership aspect, and then when you hire employees, you feel like you're helping someone provide for their family, or do something like that. And so that's when I realized I absolutely love business, and business would be the sport per se that would allow me to go farther than basketball ever could. I'm 5'11", so it was kind of a mental shift into I want to be the best businessman I could be, instead of the best basketball player.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really beautiful, and I can see where that realization would have come from, and it. I mean, look where it's landed you. That is so cool. What are some of the things that really drive you and motivate you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, really, it's my family and how I was raised. Like I said, I was raised in a small farm community, and seeing what my father and my brothers do. I have 4 older brothers, and they work for my father, and seeing what they do on a daily basis in terms of getting up at 5:30 and getting home at 8:30, and seeing that work ethic and seeing what they're building and what their goals are, and the life that my parents provided for us as kids. It's motivating. It's hard work out there on the farm, especially in the summers and during harvest season. And seeing that on a day-to-day basis is
Right.
just, it's like if you can take that and put that work ethic and that determination into a traditional office environment, man, so many people climb the corporate ladder because,
Right.
it's just that 9 to 5 mentality of let's get to work and get done, or I want to get my work done so I can go home. It just, a lot of people adopt that. And
Yeah.
Coming from a farming family, that wasn't even an option. It was, you're going to work until the work's done, then you're going to go 2 hours extra.
Right.
Then you're going to get 6 hours of sleep, and then you're going to do it all over again. And you're going to love it. You're going to learn to love it. So
Yeah.
seeing that was really the motivator of, I want to build something special, and ultimately give back to family and friends if I was fortunate enough to build something of a certain magnitude, being able to have them reap the benefits of it as well, seeing how hard they've worked, and being able to give back to my parents and buy my mom, a car or something, just a cheesy gift like that. Like anyone dreams about, just giving back to their parents and
Right.
all that good stuff. So that's probably been the biggest motivation for me.
Cool. That's awesome. I think it's so rare nowadays that people are at such a young age exposed to that level of discipline and that work ethic that you talk about with your family. And I think that obviously as you say, it's a big factor in shaping kind of who you are today and the direction that your life has taken. But I think it's too often that people fall into that 9 to 5, like sort of mediocrity trap, I would call it, where, being just good enough is okay to get by.
Right.
But you were raised differently, and I think that's sort of what separates an entrepreneur from the pack, is someone who doesn't just settle for good enough, for mediocre. It's someone who knows that they can do better and seeks to do that and has the discipline to make it happen.
Yeah, no, man, I concur. So extremely fortunate that I was raised in the household that I was.
Definitely. That's awesome. And moving forward with Job Show, super exciting shift, because this is something that, like you said, you've always dreamed of happening, and now it's coming to fruition this summer, 2020. What are some of your big, more long-term goals in terms of, it could be business with Job Show, tech industry, but it could be more on the personal side too?
Yeah, on the personal side, it's my goal's been to retire early with family and enjoy my life and fish. And I love fly fishing, and it's simple stuff like that. But my ultimate goal is to get to a point where I'm doing whatever I want when I wake up. And that's that's the simple truth of it. If I want to take my kids fishing and take them out of school for the day, I want to be young enough to enjoy that, and not have to worry. And you want to have the peace of mind of, I can do that. There's not going to be any repercussions. I'm not going to have a boss yell at me for missing a day of work. I'm not going to have to worry about paying the bills because I'm not working that day. So
Right.
the little things of getting to that point of that truly that financial freedom that people talk about, is just being able to get up and do what you want and spend time with people that you love and just enjoy life. And so that's been the ultimate goal. And I see tech as being that vehicle, and particularly what we're building, the SaaS platform is very scalable. And if you do it correctly, it can make money, and it can make money in a way that you can step away from it, and that motor will continue to run.
Yeah, That is awesome. I like how you mention that you want to have this freedom when you're young enough to be able to enjoy it. That's one of one of the big things I think about too, because I dream obviously of retiring early, being financially free, and as you were talking about, like not having to answer to a boss is one thing, and then not having to worry about paying bills, or like how is that bill going to be paid, is another thing. And it makes me think of, are you familiar with Tim Ferriss and some of his work?
I am. Yeah. No, I read the 4 Hour Work Week
Mm-hmm.
early, and it was just kind of like, gosh, it's nearly the Bible for me. So
Seriously, I was lucky enough to stumble upon it early on too, and then it's one that I've had to go back and read a couple times. So then you know what I'm talking about with the freedom multiplier that he talks about. That concept of, I mean, you being financially free is one thing, not having to worry about how is this bill going to be paid, but having freedom over your time, separating the direct exchange of time for money, and setting up passive income so you don't have to do that, is another thing. And then I would say freedom of location is another, being able to do it from anywhere in the world as long as you have a laptop and an internet connection or whatever it may be, right? And then freedom to do things on your own terms, to not have to answer to anybody, is another aspect of that. And so I think piece by piece, as we get one piece of it, it sort of accelerates and expedites the process of getting the other pieces. And it's really exciting stuff to see how freedom sort of compounds. Very, very interesting.
yeah, and I think it's one of the misconceptions about what I took from the 4 Hour Work Week, and in kind of collaboration with like what Gary Vaynerchuk talks about quite a bit, is you got to find your own base of freedom, because some people need $50,000 to be free. Some people need 5 million to be free.
Right.
It depends on what you want to do. So the financial freedom aspect of it, like you said, is truthfully about just going out and doing what you want that makes you happy. And that could be working, every day, 7 days a week on your own terms. It's about being liberated from really anyone or any rule, and just really living life on your own terms.
Definitely. I love that little sound clip that plays before a lot of the Gary Vee videos or his keynotes. It's like, I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh,
Yeah.
that's such a good clip, because it's really the underlying message of a lot of his stuff is like, hey, really just find what you can do that makes you happy, that has economic opportunity, and enjoy the process, enjoy the grind, love hearing no. Super motivating stuff. And so I'm curious, as through real estate and through your career so far, as an entrepreneur, what have been some of your biggest defining moments? Or maybe it could be a mistake that you made, or maybe just a lesson that you've learned, but what have been some of the moments that have really shaped you, and turned you into who you are today?
Yeah, I would say probably the thing I learned in the immediate when I got into real estate was the sun's going to rise tomorrow. And what I mean by that is, in real estate, when you put a deal into escrow, for instance, you have about a good month before you get paid.
Yeah.
And you can lose deals. A lot of people lose deals, and clients drop off, and house transactions fall through. And you learn how to cope with that, and you build tough skin. And so learning that one one sale failed doesn't make your year, and you have to get back on the saddle and prospect the next day, and get another one into escrow to replace that, was probably the biggest sales and life lesson that I've learned. Is, you may have a bad day, but there's going to be 365 of those. And that sounds so cliche until it happens, and you feel like, man, I just lost 2 deals today, I don't know what I'm going to do, and
Right.
I got no closings next month. It's just like, hey, get back and sell and move forward. And finding that comfort in failing, per se, not getting comfortable with failing, but saying, okay, well, I lost that one, on to the next. And so that's a big lesson I think any entrepreneur should learn.
Mm-hmm.
Is failing is going to be a part of the game, and don't learn to love it, but learn to accept it and move forward, because the more you focus on what you failed at, the less you're going to succeed at. So
Definitely. And I would say, in terms of failure, that's a big theme in entrepreneurship is, like you say, not being comfortable with failure or like embracing failure, but just well, I guess it would be true to say embracing failure and seeing it. It's more so, I would say, the perspective or the lens by which you see failure. Because I think that if you look through a foggy or reddened lens, it could make failure seem terrible, and you could beat yourself up about it. I'm the worst person ever. How could I possibly have made that mistake? But you could also choose to take those glasses off and put a completely new pair on that says, wow, I'm glad that I made that mistake, because now I know what not to do in that situation, or, whatever it may be. So I think that's awesome, that just being okay with the idea of you're going to make mistakes along the way is super, super important for us to know about and to be aware of. So another thing that I wanted to know is, throughout the career, on the other side of things, what have been some of the moments that you've been most proud of? What are some of the accolades you'd want to share with us?
The first full year in real estate, I had a good year, and I was fortunate enough to get into the top. I think it was 15. I think I finished like 13th or in our county for total sales. So
nice.
That was one of the personal accomplishments that I was proud of in terms of sales volume. Other than that, it's mostly sales based stuff, and truthfully, until Job Show gets off the ground and we begin to see a return, and our team sees a return from it, I'm just kind of looking forward. Looking back, that's about the only thing. I haven't measured many successes. My mindset's kind of like, hey, I haven't really accomplished anything until I'm sitting on a boat and fishing and on my own terms. So
right.
Small milestones, I would probably say that. But other than that, in the career, it would be a bunch of stuff that it would seem small. So
fair. And I like your outlook on that. You're like, I won't bore you with the little stuff, because really, it's for you. Like, if I'm not on my boat retired early fishing, then I haven't done it yet. I love that. It's like a forever hungry sort of mentality. Just not yet satiated, not yet satisfied. But I mean, on the flip side of that, it is nice to celebrate the smaller wins, and it can be good for motivation, for self-esteem sake, in the short term. But I think ultimately that the successful mindset looks more at the long term, and isn't fully satisfied until that long-term goal is fulfilled.
I concur.
Yeah. And so moving on to the next chapter of your life here, out of real estate and into Job Show, what is that looking like for you once the transition has happened to summertime and launch? Like, what's sort of your vision for Job Show moving forward?
What we're trying to build. Obviously, we're a SaaS platform, so we're charging subscription fees for usage of our recruiting and online job board. So what that looks like is truthfully what I've always wanted is building a company with a team full of people that can be supported by the company and supported well, and building something that my nieces and nephews and kids when they're here are, can work for and be a part of, and the family can be a part of it, and friends can be a part of it. Not saying I'm going to bring everyone in. They have to be competent and proficient, of course.
Of course.
But being able to have something that I can share with other people, and seeing a group of people benefit from something that we built is a goal. So building a business that can sustain itself. And what that looks like is a rollout this summer, and a few years of incredibly hard work and building something that we can be proud of, and that continually grows itself. And, you're always going to have to work in a business like this, and it's going to be hard work. But just building something special, building something that can support what I've wanted in terms of freedom my entire life, and share that with others along the way. So.
Yeah, I love that. And so I'm guessing you see yourself sort of taking that role of backing out and reducing the amount of time that you're putting in overall, to be able to accomplish your vision for yourself of retiring early and being financially free instead of being forever in the trenches until you're 75, right?
Yeah, for a while, I like the journey. Like I said, I love sales and lead gen, and watching something grow and develop, and business in general. So, but my ultimate goal, like I said, is to be on a boat fishing or doing what I want to do. So,
Right.
I want to be in the trenches, but not till I'm 75. Unless my mindset changes and I get to 30 and I'm just super happy with going in the office 17 hours a day, then I'm going to do it, but,
Right.
yes, it's been one of those things of grow something to the point where it can sustain itself, and slowly step back and, enjoy life.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then once you get to that point of being retired early, I kind of want to, if it's okay with you, I want to dive a little bit more deep into that goal. What have you done, like specific thinking on, like by what age, and stuff like that?
I've always said, freedom 30 has kind of been my mantra.
Nice.
30, 35. And that's been my goal. That's what I've been working towards, and that's why I started Job Show. In real estate, you see a lot of people have immense success, but you don't have success when you stop working in a business such as this. So you're constantly having to lead gen or market, especially someone my age that doesn't necessarily have a sphere of people that I can rely on to make a living, because most of my friends are still in college.
Right.
They're not purchasing homes. So I wanted to find a vehicle where I feel like I could 10x, and grow.
Yeah.
So and that was that's any tech startup for anyone. So
Oh yeah.
My goal's been 35, grow something, and then 30, excuse me, and then at that time, not necessarily vacate the business world, but do things, open a fly shop or open a bar in a town or my hometown, like little things like that. Have enough money to do projects that are going to be business driven, but projects that I've always wanted to do.
Passion projects.
Passion projects, man. If I can start passion projects comfortably at 30 to 35, which may sound like a stretch, but I would be super stoked about it. I'd be living the American dream to the T.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a stretch at all, honestly. I'm planning for 35 myself right now. And I just, especially with the direction that you've been going and how intelligently you planned out your path thus far, like you've got to be able to do it. If anyone's going to be able to do it, it should be you. And that's awesome. Like, being 30, 35, but using the tech industry to really get yourself there, I think it's a reliable, solid vehicle. I mean, I've seen it happen for a lot of people, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're able to make it work for yourself too. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I think you see it, nowadays more and more with how business has shifted to more like e-commerce and more SaaS platforms and subscription services and online growth, especially coming out of this COVID-19 thing, where I think online's going to be even more, important.
Right.
What you're doing and what I'm attempting to do, I think it's going to become the new norm. If you give it 10 to 20 years, I think the retirement age is going to decrease if folks play their cards right. And so I say it's far-fetched, but maybe that's just because you feel as if you have to say it, because it may sound ridiculous to 40% of people, but
right.
At the end of the day, we're in charge of how we execute. So
Yeah.
That's the goal.
I think that's a good point. It may be a tough pill for our parents' generation to swallow, but with advances in technology and the way the modern economy is evolving and how rapidly it's evolving, I think it's entirely realistic. With us being in our 20s now, and with compound interest too, and with you with the know-how of real estate too. In my opinion, that's one of the best ways to leverage your money, and you know better than I do the amount of money that can be made there. When you get into investing in real estate, because you mentioned that at the beginning, what could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so that's why I got in, was to learn the market. Like you said, I think real estate's it's probably the best vehicle to put money in. If I had $1 million, it'd be strictly real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what that looks like is waiting for good opportunities and ripping off market properties from folks that want to sell or maybe in a position, and duplexes and being able to identify smaller communities that have, or economically they're prospering or have good growth. Like you look at Bend, Oregon, 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, you're looking at, if you bought on the west side of Bend, Oregon 10 years ago, you have doubled your home's value in just 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
So, being in the market and being able to identify stuff like that, and then having the financial means to act on it is important. So real estate investing is something that I want to actively participate in. It's just about getting that first property and going from there, and having a pool of money there where you can make moves such as that.
Definitely. It's funny you mentioned Bend. I had a couple roommates when I was living up in Eugene who were from Central Oregon, a small town near Bend, and they were talking about they were born and raised there. I'm from California, and I know it's a huge trend. Get out of this state of rules and regulations, move up to Oregon where the grass is greener. So I'm sure that's been a big influence on house prices and all of that in that area. And they talk about, like, I remember asking them, they're like, yeah, there are some streets in like parts of town where there's ridiculous traffic. Like it'll take you 20-30 minutes to get somewhere where it used to be a 5-minute drive, and just over the course of a decade. It's crazy how populations are just exploding in areas like that.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. Thankfully, I don't live down there, so I probably would have gotten pushed out.
Yeah, fair. Do you see yourself owning mostly rental properties or using another vehicle to make your money?
Yeah, it'd probably be rental properties. I'm a big fan of duplexes. I have an uncle that's been investing actively for the last 20 years, and that's who I was helping in high school. And so I love the duplex. I feel like I have the multifamily game down a little bit. Obviously you learn more every day and month, but
right.
As opposed to single family homes, I like the duplex multifamily route a little bit better.
Huh, interesting. What to you makes it different? What makes it stick out?
I feel like multifamily properties are more so about cash flow than equity gains, and a lot of people buy single family homes, put money down, you have your mortgage, and you find a renter that basically matches that mortgage.
Right.
And then that property increases its value, and you sell for a big equity gain, hopefully. Whereas duplexes, I feel like you can cash flow right off the bat. You can buy one.
Yep.
You can cash flow it. You can have your mortgage, even if it's a couple $100s. So you get that monthly cash flow, and it's paying your mortgage. I feel like that is less common on single family investors. For guys like such as us that may not have 150 grand to put down on a house to where we can cash flow it,
right?
Flex would allow us to put 10, 5-10% down and have a comfortable cash flow. Plus we have maybe a smaller but still an equity gain over the years. And you can more easily, if you had a duplex, fix up one side, fix up this side and raise the rents, and now you're cash flowing $250 more a month. And not to mention sales on multifamily properties are mostly based on cap rates because it's typically investor to investor. So
right.
You can raise the rents. You just raise the price of the potential sales price of it. So that's why I like it. I like the numbers in multifamily properties.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting breakdown, and I have the same preference for a lot of the same reasons, and one of the reasons for me too is just barrier to entry, and it also makes a real nice situation for house hacking. If you're looking to get into it that way, which is the direction I'm headed right now, actually looking at the Medford, Oregon area for a duplex up there. But yeah, no, definitely with I think you really get the best of both worlds in terms of cash flow and equity gains, whereas just flipping houses, you're hoping that the market's doing well, that you get a good deal, and that you land a good profit, but there's a lot more risk involved. And I think for us, playing that more long-term strategy, but secure, but still nice cash flow, decent increase in equity, I think that's the way to go for sure.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. I'm curious. So let's see. I know I've been kind of bouncing all over the place here, but one thing I wanted to talk to you about. We talked a bit about Tim Ferriss, so you must be a reader. What are some other books that you've read throughout your career or just in life that have really defined who you are?
Yeah, I would say the first one, and this is kind of a controversial book. But I'll say it anyway because it really did have a significant impact, was Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
She also wrote The Fountainhead. Both of those books I really like. And the reason is they have such a theme of entrepreneurship that it changed my life. The theme of being a creator and really doing something special is important. And say what you want about the books. There's things in there I don't agree with necessarily, but in terms of the story and lessons, if you take individual characters, specifically in The Fountainhead, and finding, happiness through one's work and being able to go out and do what you want in the way that you want to do it, is a really prevalent theme in the books, and it stuck with me. And then you get more into, the technical books like Crush It by Gary Vee. I remember reading that for the first time, and I read it in a day. Actually, I couldn't put him down. And then
nice.
Thank You Economy, and his books like that, showing his philosophy, are really great. And then the 4-Hour Workweek was one of the books that it's a short book.
Yep.
But every line in every chapter, you take away lessons from it. And
so good.
It is. I buy that book for just about anyone I come in contact with. Same with Crush It. Atlas Shrugged, not so much. Just about 1,200 pages, but
right.
Crush It and 4-Hour Workweek, man, I hand those out like candy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Atlas Shrugged is a brick to deliver to somebody. That is funny, but I agree with you that there's a lot of value to be taken away from Ayn Rand's work. I think there are some opinionated areas that rub people the wrong way, which is to be expected with, pretty much any opinion on any subject, honestly. So, I think the way that you view it, you can definitely see a lot out of it. And then, more of the modern entrepreneurship books today, like Crush It, Gary Vee, he seems to be the single most respected entrepreneurship icon, I would say, today.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's his goal, be the single best entrepreneur, most successful on the jets, and also the one who gives back the most, which I love that. I respect that. Okay, cool. So we got some Ayn Rand on there, some Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, amazing. Have you had a chance to read through Robert Kiyosaki's work?
So that's Rich Dad Poor Dad, correct?
Yes.
So I haven't much. I haven't read a lot of finance books. I've read them in summary and heard what they're about, and it's a lot about what I already believe in. So I
Right.
haven't read too much of them, truthfully. Too
Yeah.
many of them. So.
I would say honestly where you're at in real estate, because Robert Kiyosaki, just his background, that's where he made his money. But
Right.
Rich Dad Poor Dad is breaking down the philosophies of a household in which the dad's successful and one dad is in the rat race and not so successful. And it breaks down the philosophies, I think it's really interesting from a mindset perspective as far as what it takes to be wealthy. But it seems like you've got that, and then he talks about the more technical aspects of like buying assets and leveraging real estate and stuff like that to having money work for us. Which seems like lots of concepts you've already kind of got down. So
Yeah, no, I'll have to check it out. I've always just kind of looked at it like, oh gosh, I already believe what he's preaching. But
right.
it seems like there's a little bit more to it, and so I'll have to check him out. And then, other than those books mentioned, I like Reid Hoffman and Peter Thiel, 0 to 1. A lot of those books. As I started Job Show about a year ago, I started diving into more books from CEO and tech founders, and I think there's a lot of good small business lessons folks can take from learning about big business.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I try to read a book every 2 weeks, and typically right now the theme has been startups and sales. So like Grant Cardone and like gap selling and a few books like that I've really enjoyed.
Nice. That's awesome. How do you read hardcover, or do you use like something like Audible?
I'm Audible's #1 customer. So yeah, it's funny. I read books. I listen to books on Audible, and then I usually just buy a copy in person and then put it on the bookshelf. So I don't know what it is, but maybe it's an accomplishment thing. I like seeing them. And then I usually have a copy to give out. So I'll listen to it on Audible, and then I'll order it on Amazon if I liked it, put it on my bookshelf. And then I end up giving a lot of hard copies away, and then I just order another one that way. I always have one.
You are so hilarious. I thought I was the only one. I've never mentioned it to anyone before, but I literally I'll get it on with my free credit on Audible. Well, it's not free because you're paying for the subscription. Those sneaky people. But then I'll go on Amazon and I'll order it just so that I can have it on my bookshelf and be like, I read this.
Yes,
Yes,
it's like a trope. I want to be an old man with a bookshelf full of books and be like, I listened to those all when I was, younger. So that's funny that you do that too, because I've said it to people and they're like, "Is that a waste of money?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's really fulfilling." So
I think one day I'll probably want to go back and read them, like the hard copies. One day I'll be like, there'll be some sort of nostalgia of like, especially with the direction we're going with technology. I feel like it'll be like, oh, remember the good old days when you could just sit down in a chair and crack open a good old book. I like to think that's what I'm investing in, but who knows.
Yeah, that's good.
Funny stuff. Awesome, man. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to do this with me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate, and I know your audience appreciates it. But keep preaching what you're preaching, and I think it's good for younger and older folks to hear your message and similar messages, and just get to work. And we all have the same end goal if you're listening to this. So the more we can help one another, the better. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good luck in your endeavors.
Of course. I appreciate you coming on. And if the listeners want to get a hold of you or learn more about what you're doing with Job Show, real estate, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all handles Zach Bernards _ ZACHBERNARDS _ find me there. And then, ZachBernardsRealEstate.com is my personal real estate website. And then jobshow.com, JOBSHO, is the website site. And if you're interested, sign up for beta testing. We're built for entrepreneurs. So I'd love to have a couple of you on the platform testing it and hearing your feedback.